that I'm going to use to get my measurements from. I can see quite clearly where the tree rings are on this log. And the first thing I did was I put a ruler down onto the tree log so I could get a fair idea about where the best line to take from the center to the outer edge of the log. And then what I've done is I've gone and counted the rings, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've put a mark there and then put the number 5, so I know that's 5 rings or 5 years of growth. Then I count another 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's the next line that I've made, or the next mark, and I'll put 10 on that one, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, count the next 5 rings, 15, and finally 20. So I can estimate now that this log or this tree was 20 years old when they cut it down, which is about right. Of course, you know, we've got some shavings or the bark and that sort of thing on the end here, but this here would be about 20 years old. So now I've done that, and you can see quite clearly through the camera here where the light wood is, and then there's that dark ring. So here's the summer or the spring growth, and then the dark ring signifying the The next thing I want you to do is grab a piece of paper, or graph paper is great for this exercise, but grab your piece of paper and put it along from the center of the log. Okay, you can see where the marks are there for the 5, 10, 15, and then make the marks on your piece of paper for 5, 10, 15 and 20 years, or however old your log is or tree that you're actually measuring. Okay, make the little marks, and then if you could also mark each year of growth from those lines that you can see on the tree there onto your piece of paper. So I'll take my pen, hopefully I should be able to do this without it blowing away, but take our pen, you can see here, here's the first year, and then we've got our next year of growth, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on, trying to make sure that we stay along that line as accurately as we possibly can to mark those rings and growth. Okay, so now you can see I've marked it for each year of growth based on where the rings are on the log. Then what we'll be able to do from that is then take our ruler and then get an idea about how many millimeters of growth there was for each of those 5 years that we can see there. So now I've put my ruler down, and I want to be as accurate as I possibly can. So 0 is on where the center mark is, and I can see that the first 5 years of growth there were 100 millimeters. So I'm just going to put that down there, 100 millimeters. Then going from there, now you can read on, if you can do that, or you may want to move your ruler, okay, and then do the next part. But I'm just going to leave my ruler where it is. I can read on, so 100 to the 10 year mark there is 180. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 184. So that will be 84 millimeters. Okay, and then measure on and do the others. And as I said, if you want to move your ruler along and then do it for each of those 5 years, that would be great. Then what we'll also do is, either today while we're out here or back in class, we'll take our ruler and we'll measure for each of those years and just see when possibly the biggest year of growth was for this particular tree. Okay. Okay, and then what you're also going to do is, I'd like you to find at least another 2 logs after you've measured your first one, and do the same thing again. You're going to, on your log, mark where those rings are for the first 5, 10, 15 years, etc. And then take your piece of paper and mark those on there, so we can see here I've marked my log, and do that on a separate piece of paper. So that means that by the end of this exercise today, you'll have 3 pieces of paper at least, where you can then start to compare the amount of growth for the trees over a 5, 10, 15 year period of time. We'll be able to work out the average of how fast a tree grew in the first, say, 5 or 10 years by doing that. And you can see on those two pieces of paper there, I've marked them both with each year of growth. So from this, it looks as if those two trees were fairly similar for the first 5 years. They both had about 100 millimeters of growth. This other one tree here I had was 84 millimeters compared to 57, so not as much growth in that one. And then there's similar sort of growth period here for that. So that's why we'd like to do it at least 3 times, so then we can start comparing them rather than just relying on one set of figures. We've actually got a few that we can then compare with one another.